Sharpener. Hello knife people, thank you for tuning in. I want to do a review and modification of the TOPS Brothers of Bushcraft Fieldcraft knife. That's a long name. Overall, I love the knife, I like the knife, and the idea of how it was designed, but it does have some flaws that I do want to correct. None of these modifications should surprise you because many of the users and owners of the knife have already done these modifications, so I'm kind of late to the game, but better late than never. Now let me get the sheath out of the way and then we'll talk about the knife. I think the sheath has very good points and some weaknesses. So basically the one weakness of this sheath would be the absence of a drainage hole. These two holes are not for drainage purposes because if you look into them, the kydex is very close and sandwiched together, so that's not it. That is for putting rope through this and maybe tying it to your leg so that it doesn't wobble, or just having some paracord at the end. It's more of a design thing rather than for practical or for drainage use. So that would be the only gripe that I have with the sheath. The rest I'm very happy with. Well, also that, but the way this is designed, I don't want to remold it, like heat it up in this area, put it into the special foam, because this is not shaped around this specific handle. It is shaped around a different mold that does have the contours of the handle, but also has, for example, these shapes, this shape, etc. So I don't have that mold, I don't want to mess it up. So I guess I have two gripes with the handle. One, the absence of a drainage hole, and the other being that it rattles. This is not a hunting knife, it is not a tactical knife, so if you do make a little jingly sound in the woods, I guess I don't mind. This, I would think, the only purpose for this shape here is just to be able to pop it out, so it's like a thumb ramp, and then it follows through onto the spine of the knife. That's not a necessity. I have different solutions for this, but I don't mind it. It's not sharp, it is rounded off very nicely. The clip, again, I don't mind. I would have preferred a dangler belt loop on this, but the fact that this is adjustable and it rotates and is held by tension in with this very thick and looks like a robust piece of rubber, so it does hold the sheath quite well. The knife is balanced in the middle, so it's no issue to carry it sideways or scout carry, or you can rotate this. As you saw, it takes quite a bit of force, and if you choose, you could wear it vertically, but then unless the loop is high up on the same level as the handle, this digs into your side, into your ribs, and is uncomfortable. Also, for drawing the knife, I always prefer a lateral or a scout carry. I find it easier to take it out this way. The retention is just fine. It has never come out. These indentations in the kydex are done quite well, so no issues there. What I do want to point out on the sheath is how these lips are finished off. Now I make Kydex sheaths, so I know that doing this glossy finish plus having it rounded on each lip, that takes a bit of extra work. So when this is not done prior, this is done after shaping the sheath. In order to round off these lips, they would have to kind of open them up, probably by sliding something in between, and then rounding them off and polishing them off, etc. So when a brand does this detailing, it's nice to see, pleasant to hold as well. I don't have any other Kydex sheath that has these rounded lips and plus having them polished, so that's good from TOPS. This came, this is the very first version, 1095, it's not stainless, and I understand they did slight modifications and changes in the next iterations, so I don't have those. This is the very first version that they came out with, and now they just send it with a one-piece large ferro rod, whereas this has two magnesium rods along with one ferro rod. I actually prefer this because of the ability to kind of get a hotter fire. When you scrape the magnesium off, it serves like gunpowder basically. You could do the same thing, I believe, with a ferro rod, but magnesium burns higher. So if you're in wet conditions or you don't have access to fat wood, you're in the kind of woods where you don't have fat wood or pine, etc. This works out quite well, and it's a unique design. It came with a whistle that was just dangling here. I don't like that system also that they used, the chain, if I may call it. It's a weak one. But the other thing was, besides this having noise and, you know, rattling in the sheath, that whistle was just hanging here, and being loose, it was making a lot of noise, so I just took it off. Plus I don't need a whistle in the woods, just gave it to one of my kids who probably lost it by now. And I like the execution as well of how this is set up, rather than bringing it out here, which is the usual way. They will have it sideways. It makes it wider, and this design keeps the sheath more compact, and I like compact sheaths. I don't like extra material. That's pretty much it. Yeah, you don't have to take off the belt to put this on your belt. It does have quite good width as well as height, so you can use this on tactical belts, on gun carry belts, etc. There is one drawback that I'm quite surprised, and hopefully they did change this on the newer models, is if you see down there the screw protrudes quite far out, so that will be destroying your leather sheath. Again, it's scratched up, and also probably best to wear these on a nylon belt rather than a leather belt. You see that, hopefully, that screw that protrudes. Now we're done with the sheath. Overall it is a good sheath. So the knife is a very robust one. It kind of came out as a competitor to the infamous Ka-Bar BK line, the BK5 is it, or BK2, that huge hammer looking blade, which I don't have. I do have a Ka-Bar which is a BK16, and I had to modify it quite heavily. I had to make a new sheath because it came with a nylon sheath, etc. Forget Ka-Bar for now. This knife is a knife that was designed by several bushcraft and experts of the woods kind of thing. And when too many minds come together to produce one product, it can be a very good thing, or it can be a bad thing, or it can be a combination. In this case, we have a combination. The knife has some gimmicky characters, as well as overall it still is a very good knife for the woods, for bushcraft. You can call it a survival knife as well, because it will it will help you survive. It is dependable, 1095 high carbon steel, very stout tip. The thickness, I believe, is 5 or 6 millimeters. No, sorry, maybe 5 max, 4. I don't have the measuring tools here, but anyway, there's plenty of information on the knife. And if you're watching this video, you probably know what the dimensions are anyway. In general terms, this is a perfect mid-size, but at the same time robust and dependable knife, and should also be easy to sharpen because it is 1095 carbon steel. I would hesitate to sharpen the knife or any of my knives in the field unless I have the proper sharpening tools, which is less likely, so I prefer to do this work at home. And but in a pinch, if you're in a survival situation, you can sharpen it on a stone found by the river. So the blade. The blade has a Scandi grind with a secondary bevel. That bevel is now gone because I dulled the knife and I changed the grind as well. And I polished the grind. I'll get into why I did that here soon. The shape is perfect for bushcraft, for camping chores. Has a nice belly. Given that it is sharp, you could use it skinning. It has decent holes. It has this jimping, which is rather rough for me, as well as others, so I've seen people round this off as well, but I don't really use my thumb often, so I don't think I will be doing anything here, stripping. It has this finger guard, which I would prefer if it didn't have this, and if the sharp edge of the blade came down to the maximum possible length, so that it would be close to the grip, the cutting edge. I like having the cutting edge as close to the grip as possible. It would be possible if this was not so rounded off and kind of more flat with a straight line, and they could have brought down the cutting edge. Well, they didn't. I understand some of the solutions. They're considering that the knife may be used by an inexperienced user, so they do want to protect it. Now, even an experienced user, sometimes when you're working with wood, there's the wood parts that could puncture and penetrate into your skin, and not only wood, bark and all kinds of stuff, so this does actually serve as a good protector. I've seen plenty worse executions of this, so it's bearable. Now, in terms of modifications, it's quite common that people will either just take this off and straighten it out, or they will just round this off. And I personally don't see a use for that, because I won't be choking up like that and working with a knife like that. I will mostly hold it this way or reverse grip, so I won't be messing with the finger guard. Let's talk about the rest of the handle now. The way the finger groove, this is not a trial, the finger grooves are done are not, this is not optimal. I believe the finger groove should be a bit wider, and these sharp corners are not comfortable. It's deep and narrow, so does not serve as a good pinch grip. It's better than no grip if you do use your knife sideways, but this is not how I would implement a finger groove. The shape of the handle for me is not optimal. I like the bottom part much better than the front part because it is significantly narrower here, and that could have been compensated by kind of flaring out here, but they didn't. Instead, what they did was kind of took away some material and put some grooves in here, which does help, but it helps hold, like this hold up here is more comfortable than up here, and that's probably personal for me, but I think that others would also find that it's just, you know, wider point is better to hold and control because of the way how your fingers wrap around. It gives you more lateral control and ability to exert more pressure onto the cutting edge. If you go up here, it's too narrow, and yeah. Now what helps is this other area where the rest of the fingers kind of help in gripping the knife and giving it additional lateral force, but I would have done it differently. I don't think they saved on material, but I do think that they should have gone with a thicker piece of micarta and then doing the coke shape. The coke shape has proven to be the best knife handle in general, whether it's for bushcraft, for camping, chopping, whatever. It just follows, it's the best shape that follows the natural ergonomics of your palm and your fingers. So I don't know why they did this in this way. I have never done a friction fire, and I'm not probably ever going to. I don't see the necessity of a friction fire. There's 1,000 ways to make fire, and friction fire to me would be the worst. First of all, I always carry a lighter on me, but if I don't have a lighter, I mean, this is a knife that came with a magnesium and ferro rod. So what's the logic here? I don't understand. It's just the marketing mentality of let's just throw in as many functions as possible into the knife, and then it just becomes more gimmicky. If they're doing these type of things and spending so much attention on the handle, I would have preferred a proper nice handle rather than, and not having any of these things would, for me personally, be a better choice. This, I believe, can be also used to undo bullets, like take off the front side of the bullet so you can get access to the gunpowder. So that's useful, and always nice to have a good size hole for your paracord if you like to use paracord at the end. I don't use paracord, and if I do want to carry paracord with me along with a knife, I'll just wrap it around the sheath. So I would call this a useless gimmick on this knife. Yes, it works, and yes, you can start a friction fire with this, but come on, man, who does that? The finger groove, as I said, and not a gimmick necessarily, but not a good execution. I would have done it differently. And this is probably the worst part of the knife in terms of gimmicks. And it's just disappointing because, I repeat, there were a few people that put the design together, and I would have expected them to test the functions on a prototype before sending it to full production. There is just one tiny spot where it does the spark on the ferro rod. It's very difficult to catch that exact point and degree, and it just sucks. This thing sucks. Not the protrusion of the full tang. I actually like this, and it's very useful for cracking things and just pounding on things, chopping up your kindling and stuff. But it would have been a much better solution to just grind this to a 90-degree spine, or to just 90-degree where it would strike a ferro rod from both sides. Now I will be grinding these down to make this 90-degree, but there's several ways of how people have done it. Mostly what I've seen is when they modify this, they just take the entire groove away, but that then forces you to go down all the way, leaving about 1 to 2 millimeters of steel. And when you do that, if you do later use it to pound, you will also have a high chance of hitting the micarta handle and damaging the handle, or at least aesthetically damaging it. So I don't want to do that. I would rather have this out. I won't be pounding rocks or steel with this. It'll maybe be a nut or something, and so I will just strip off the paint and do a 90-degree here, and then I can strike a ferro rod at any point here. That is because I don't want to strip off the paint on the spine. I would rather keep that for corrosion resistance purposes. So if you look at the pommel from this side, it would just be the same visual without the coating, only on this section. And I will do the modifications in this video, so you will see. And that's basically it for the handle. And as you know, this is thought out quite well, where you can sheath the knife and do your fire steel striking like this, being safe and protected from the blade. Now, going back to the blade, originally it came with a very rough paint, textured paint, and that is not optimal for wood cutting. So that's another strange point. I don't know why they didn't use a different type of coating. That coating sucks. It retains particles and moisture from the wood, and just looks awful. What I did was I took a very, very fine grit sandpaper and just sanded this off. Now this slides much better, and it should slide through wood better and not be as difficult to clean off. Now you see some patina on the blade. I did that intentionally. It's a kind of bluing or oxidizing the exposed part of the blade, exposed part of the steel, to slightly increase corrosion resistance. What also helps out in that is this had a satin satin finish on it, which was not very smooth, and that also weakens the rust resistance. It's easier for it to get rusted. So first thing I did was I ground this manually with the hand and a sharpening stone, and I used different grids going up all the way to 3000 to make it a bit smoother, a bit shinier. And then I used vinegar and mustard to put this patina on here. This is not a finished visual. I will be stropping this on my leather strop to kind of take off any extra rust on this, and it will look slightly lighter in color, but that will be the after I do the edge on the blade. I need to sharpen this because I intentionally dulled the knife to avoid any damage on my hand while I was or am still making modifications to the knife. So let's start. Basically what we will be doing is the pommel, putting a 90-degree here. We will, as I said, leave the finger guard because again, no sense in taking this off. It's not digging into my hands. I don't use a grip that would hinder where this would hinder the grip. And then we will add a nice convex. So this is Scandi grind. We will end it on this can onion sharpener with this blade sharpening attachment, and putting a convex edge on this, so it will be Scandivex as it's referred to. So let me now start taping this, because you see these rollers are very close to each other. That's one thing I don't like about the can onion. It does give you a way to convex because the belt will bend in between, but it would have been nicer if this was a bit farther out, because sometimes when I am sharpening, it's difficult to avoid hitting this edge or this roller, and when you do that you scrape up the blade where it's not supposed to be sharpened or scraped. So I will now start doing that, and you can stay tuned to see the end result. So as I said, I have taped up the painted part of the blade, and this is not sharp, so don't freak out. I'm not going to cut myself. Only the tip is sharp, but I won't be messing with that. Now, because this has a relatively flat area, it should be easy to do a 90-degree. This is preset at 90 degrees, so let's start. Let's give it a quick test. There we go. We got a 90-degree spine here, so we will just leave it at that. And now all is left is to sharpen the blade section. For that I will be using my work sharp. I have the originals of the work sharp, which are very high grade and quite expensive belts, and so far I have been saving them because I don't remember on Amazon or elsewhere I purchased these cheaper ones. So what I do is I do the shaping with these belts, and then I engage for the finishing. This is from the work sharp, very fine grit, and then I will finish off with the leather belt. And I have a lot of these, so plenty to use, plenty extras that I haven't even touched yet. So I do need to put a convex edge on it, so I guess I will start off with the roughest grit and then work myself down. Make sure that you do follow these arrows. These belts will have arrows on directions. It rotates that way, so that's how I need to set it up. I usually, for my bushcraft knives, I set it at about 17-18 degrees per side. So that totals to what, 34, 36 in total. You see this? That's what happens with cheaper belts. So this belt will probably give sometime soon. Next grit, where are our arrows like that. Every time you replace the belt, it requires truing. Now I'm using the original belt that comes with the Canonian setup. We will now finish off with the leather belt. I'm not sure whether this has a direction because it's kind of glued flat, so it should make a difference which side we put on. The leather belt is extremely tight, that's one thing. This came with this white compound, so I'll put that on. Shaving. So this is my standard. I could go crazy and make it literally razor sharp, but then it will lose the edge. It won't retain the edge for too long. So there we go. Quite sharp for a bushcraft knife. Let's quickly look at how it works on wood. Okay, so now I need a piece of wood for feather sticking. We'll test it on this. Scandivex, here you go. This is thinner than this piece of paper, curled up all the way. So came out quite nice. Those beautiful feathers, as you can see. So the finishing touches now will be to take this off and run the Scandi ground section in, kind of clean it up with this strop so that it doesn't develop any further rust on the patina side, patina edge. So for that, because it is Scandi, I can very easily kind of tilt it forward, find that angle, and then just move it back. And that cleaned up and kind of polished, but it still retained that patina from the oxidation that I did with mustard and vinegar. Let's do the tip. Now as I'm doing this, I'm not actually doing any change to the bevel. The bevel or the edge, the cutting edge was done on this leather belt, and because it is a convex, I'm currently doing this section, not the edge. So you see the difference between here and here. There's a deep rust spot over here in this section. Not much I can do other than polish that, and I don't want to polish too much of that oxidation. So maybe I'll just put a Dremel tool, to use the Dremel tool to just polish out that point, but the rest is just as I would like. So I'll rotate and do the other side now. And let's do the tip or the belly. And that's it. Now, as I said, on the other side there is also deeper spots where rust did its work more than on elsewhere. So 1, 2, 3, and that will be finished off with the Dremel tool. I have that attachment for the Dremel tool. So that's it. Beautiful. Very, very slicey, very good. Has a 90-degree here in the back, so we can strike a ferro rod from there. Beautiful edge, and aesthetically also I think this looks better than the factory satin finish on the blade. That'll be it for today. Thank you again, and please like and subscribe. Have a good day.